to be speaking in about 15 minutes to about 700 people, about 30 minutes away from here, so I am going to try and be very brief, but I wanted to take time out of my schedule to join you because we are in this fight together, all of us. We're in it together. I don't need to tell any of you that the gap between the super rich and middle-income families is widening more every day. The gap gets bigger every day. I don't need to tell you that the 5 major oil companies in the United States, just the first quarter of this year, made tens of billions of dollars in profit. At the same time, they paid their CEOs millions of dollars in wages and bonuses, while at the same time, workers have been under attack for their rights, their working conditions, and their wages. It's wrong, and we have to change it, and we can only change it by standing together and being united like we are today. You know, when I go back to Washington, D.C. on Monday, the #1 issue in Washington today is the federal budget, the deficit, and the national debt. All we hear about on the news programs and from many Republicans in Congress and those who are candidates running for Congress today is we have to do something about deficit spending and the national debt. And they're right. We do have to do something about it. Let me tell you, though, we have to stop and ask ourselves, how did we get from where we were to where we are today with the national debt and with the deficit? #1, you may recall the presidential debates between then Governor Bush and Vice President Al Gore. The #1 issue was, what are we going to do, the next president of the United States, what are we going to do with the $5.6 trillion surplus that the Clinton administration was leaving for the next president? Al Gore, Vice President of the United States, said, let's take some of it, reduce the deficit, the national debt, put money away for the deficit in the future if we go back into deficit spending. President Bush said, let's give it back to the people in the form of tax cuts. Well, the election was over. President Bush was elected. He inherited a $5.6 trillion projected surplus by the Congressional Budget Office. The first time the federal budget has been balanced in many, many years. He took that surplus and turned it into a deficit. He took the national debt and doubled it during the 8 years the Bush administration was in office. 2 unfunded wars, Afghanistan and Iraq. Iraq, the Assistant Secretary of Defense told us we would be in Iraq probably 60 days and it would cost $2 billion. That was 8 years ago at a cost of hundreds of billions of dollars, let alone the lives that have been lost. 2 unfunded wars, Afghanistan and Iraq. 2 tax cuts in 2001 and 2003, primarily benefiting the wealthiest people in the country. New spending for new federal agencies in Washington, D.C. And that's how we went from a surplus to a deficit. Now, many of those who are in Congress who voted for those 2 wars, who voted for those tax cuts, they're saying we need to balance the federal budget. Even though they were okay with putting it all on a credit card at the time. Now the bill is coming due, and you know what their solution is? Their solution is to pass the Paul Ryan budget, which in fact would help balance the budget on the backs of the disabled, the elderly, and middle-class families, while at the same time keeping all of the tax loopholes and the tax cuts for the oil companies and the major corporations in the United States. It's wrong, and we have to do something about it. We have to stand up. We have to preserve Medicare for our retirees and those who will be retiring in the future.